Hi. I'm I'm kind of wet. I'm Brad. Hello everyone. Um this is going to be a little messy. I know my streams are usually messy to begin with, but I am streaming from a MacBook because I recorded a bunch of footage at SID Display Week in in ProRes. And if you don't know, ProRes video uh a lot of those video files are like gigabytes. Like we're talking in the hundreds, some of them. And getting those files onto a PC is harder than getting those files onto a MacBook. I you know, ecosystem stuff. So yeah, just so make it easier on myself, even though it might end up screwing things up. The audio is a little low. Really? I thought I tested that before. Um, you're very quiet. Okay, hold on. See, it already begins. I'm telling you. I knew. I did know. What about now? This is the highest I can put it. You're very quiet. Oh my god. Okay, hold up. Sound is great. Audio is okay. Okay, you know what? All right. Anyway, yeah, I'm streaming from a MacBook. Obviously not the best thing to stream on, but it'll make my life easier when I go through all the footage and stuff like that. Okay? Um, before I start, a few things I want to disclaim. Special thanks to my full-time job, Liv. I wouldn't have been able to go to the event without getting a full-time job to begin with. So even though they're not directly sponsoring this, I want to give a shout out to Liv for hiring me still. And yeah, check out liv.tv. We got Gorilla Tag working for Liv, and that's cool because we had to brute force it basically. But anyway, yeah. So what is SID Display Week? Some people say it's low, some people say it's fine. So SID Display Week basically is the largest event for displays in the industry. It doesn't even really have to do with VR AR. However, as we all know and probably have been paying attention recently, AR VR requires displays. And another thing you might not know, but every single industry right now, I don't want to say we're entering a recession, but a lot of orders are being cut for other electronics, consumer electronics, like phone orders, or I should say component orders for phones, IT, which is like laptops, desktops. All those things are dropping in orders. The one thing that is not dropping in orders is actual VR AR head-mounted displays. That being said, obviously the volumes for AR VR stuff is not as high as those other categories, but the fact that there's not a drop, like a huge drop in orders, is making the supply chain and all these other industries very excited. They're starting to dedicate a little more resources into R&D or putting up new supply chains for different things, right? Does that make sense? Um, hold on. Let me put up the gain a little bit. I really don't want to have a whole stream where it's just like screwy like this. I literally have it at max volume. Yeah. Oh, I do not want to remove this. If it gets really loud, I am really sorry. Okay, let's put it up to 7 gain. Is that better? 9 gain? 8 gain. Okay. Sorry, people are complaining about it, so I don't want to I don't want to do this whole thing without people being able to hear me. All right. So anyway, SID Display Week. Yeah, because of all the things I was just explaining, basically a lot of different components like displays or well, now optics as well is another big thing. They're all like, okay, well, we're losing money on iPhones or orders for smartphones, which has been pretty much a money printer for a lot of these fabs. We need to start looking into this XR thing that everyone's hyping about. People are changing literal giant corporations are literally changing their names just so they can have an XR related weird thing with the metaverse or whatever. So yeah, SID Display Week is just the annual event where everyone that usually works in display industry. This is not really like a typical consumer event. It's not like CES, right? CES is where a lot of companies come and they show off products that are literally about to come out, like either that year or even that month in some cases. So CES is a big event. You get a lot of coverage. SID Display Week, some of the stuff you see at SID Display Week for displays could literally be 10 years in the future, some of the stuff. So it's like a very and everyone that goes there are usually people working in the display industry itself. So you get to talk to a lot of smart people if you go there, which was really cool. I liked it more than I'm just gonna say I liked SID more, the actual aroma of nerdiness more than I liked CES, I would say. So yeah, I'm just gonna skip through like a bunch of slides and stuff that I saw while the event. This was just the press thing. Vivid Q, which they make display engines for AR, like the see-through glasses. They're a small company in UK. They announced a 3D holographic display. It's at 21 degrees diagonal FOV. And yeah, holographic displays are basically actual depth per eye, which is very different. We're used to stereoscopy, right? Stereoscopy, you get a sense of depth by having two 2D images per eye, and then your brain does the stereoscopy. Holographic displays are trying to add even more depth cues by literally rendering layers. Obviously, this technology is still far away for consumers, I would definitely say. 21 degrees diagonal, I mean, I don't know any consumer that is not going to care about AR glasses with a 21 degree diagonal, because that's like Google Glass territory. But you know, this is all R&D stuff, and again, one day maybe we'll figure out the issues that will bring this to mass market. Brad, have you used holographic displays? So I was supposed to get a demo of this. However, I had some issues with my flight being canceled that I had to leave early. And I could not try this, basically. So, whoops. Yeah. I had a lot of issues with flights. I can't even go to I was planning to go AWE in like a week and a half from now or something like that. Which is a big event. A lot of companies come to show off mostly AR, but there's still a VR stuff there as well. I was planning to go to that, but if you look at flight prices and stuff right now, it's genuinely insane. So I'm going to skip that event, and yeah, I'm totally okay with that. So, how are the pancake lenses? We're gonna talk about pancake lenses in a little bit. Is this the NVIDIA stuff? NVIDIA does do stuff related to the software side, because one thing you have to be aware of for holographic displays is you need like a whole rendering, a whole different rendering thing, right? Like, because you're not just rendering a 2D image, single plane. You have to like render multiple planes, and that's even another issue with like holographic displays is it requires more processing power. So yeah. Pipeline, yes. This was just LG. LG didn't have anything interesting. So Meta was there. Meta was one of the large sponsors for this event, and they did a keynote at the very beginning of the event that we're just gonna brush through a little bit, because I think it's really, I mean, it's obvious to me, but you guys might find it interesting. So basically, Meta was here like, oh hey, we want to build this metaverse, but all the hardware we need to build the perfect VR AR glasses are not there yet. Like there's no fabs. We need your help, display companies, please. So this was a picture they shown off where they were like, hey, this is like, you know, the keyboard in this image is digital. They have like a PNG floating in the air. They have like a Word document. And they were saying this is something that internally Meta is using for work already. This looks like an airline seat or something, but yeah, there was a big focus in this keynote on like, hey, it's not just gaming. We're looking into workspace and collaboration. Here's a picture of what our internal stuff looks like. I will talk about Tilt 5 impressions after all my SID stuff. I will talk about Tilt 5 because that is one thing I did not do. AR glasses, we need AR glasses, you need a lot of stuff, not even just displays, but let's just skip through this. You might remember this image from years back. We're still at the same kind of issues, what humans are capable of, where VR is today. This is like the updated slide. Visual resolution, what panel resolution we're at today. And not much has changed since this first keynote or this slide was shown off. Like what? I think Abrash did a very similar thing to this back in like 2016. He did literally like the same spiel as this, and not much has changed, honestly. Except resolution. And this is a really cool slide because I think it's really important. It's not really talked about much with just I mean, everyone talks about resolution, right? But something that's very important other than just resolution that I think people don't realize. So when you increase resolutions of displays, that doesn't I mean, okay, it does help the screen door effect, but there's something even more important for the screen door effect, and that is called either pixel fill rate or making the pixel subpixel gap smaller, which is hard to do. Again, every display that we use today, even LCDs, OLED for VR AR devices, are usually based on processes used for smartphones, which screen door effect for smartphones is not an issue. And they're just saying, yeah, we need to fix the pixel fill rates or add something called diffusers, which a lot of headsets do. The Valve Index, for example, you might not know this, but their LCD displays have a polarizer built, slapped on top of them to make it seem like there's even less screen door effect. It's like a layer of optics to make it look better. So yeah, pixel fill rate is arguably more important than just making the resolution higher. How close the pixels are together. Yes, exactly. Not even just the pixels, the subpixels, which is like the red, green, and blue. RGB stripe is arguably the best for VR. I know LCDs have that, but micro OLED is starting to do RGB stripe, which I think Sony PSVR 1 had RGB stripe, if I remember correctly, for their OLED. Maybe that's wrong, but I know they had like a very special standard OLED pixel thing. So this chart we're gonna skip through here. I love this chart. This is super cool. Yeah, pixel density. Well, yeah, pixel density, but also, I mean, when you make the gap smaller and you put more pixels in, that's gonna make the PPI higher generally anyway. So yeah, pixel density too. With less screen door, the grass will look even better. Exactly. So this was a super interesting slide that Meta was showing off. I want you guys to notice it. So let's see, do I have I have a cursor. So this is where they are today. They're saying right here with the Quest 2. It's about between 500 and 600 PPI, pixels per inch. They're using a typical LCD, and this is the focal length. And they're saying their goal that they're really trying to reach right now, like their big goal, is around here. A 3000 PPI display at a much smaller focal length. Making the focal length smaller is usually they're kind of talking about pancake lenses. That's obvious. A lot of companies are switching to pancake lenses because you're making it thinner. But they're also wanting to increase the resolution to 3000 PPI. But if you look on the right here, look what technology Meta is admitting they're looking to do that for VR. Do you see it? Do you see this on the right here? OLED microdisplays. It's coming, guys. I'm telling you, it's coming. Yeah. PPI also depends on display size. It depends on a few factors. Yep. Here's even a better example right here. Right. Um, they're admitting like, hey, we're gonna switch to pancake lenses, make the devices thinner. We're gonna switch to micro OLED, and this is where we're gonna be in the near future. At least that's their goal. Probably 2024 is when they're gonna reach this goal, if I had to guess, because Cambria is probably gonna be around here in the middle. We know they're using custom LCD. They're using mini LED, and it's probably very customized. Like I'm sure the backlight, which is a mini LED backlight, is basically a bunch of tiny white backlights with local dimming. And you also have to do some special stuff for VR. It's not just like, hey, you can slap a mini LED display in any VR headset. I wouldn't be surprised if they had some sort of special like a lens array to make the light better for VR purposes. Otherwise, you get a lot more blooming and stuff. So yeah, that's where they're at. That's where they're going. AR glasses. Oh god, I know I keep saying this all the time, right? But especially now with all the Apple, like this week has been crazy for Apple VR headset rumors. I don't even think it's rumors at this point. It's like basically saying, hey, this thing's coming soon. And reading, I love reading like replies to these tweets, or like you go on Mac rumors and you read the forum for the articles talking about the mixed reality or VR headset, and every time I read it, it's like, why are they making a stupid VR headset? They should just make a AR glass that does all of this at once. And it's really hilarious to me because these people, like I know you guys, when you watch my channel, you're like, you're already XR enthusiasts, you kind of have an idea of where the technology is. But people that have never touched a VR headset, never touched an AR headset, they just know that Apple is this supreme being that they love so much. They just assume that Apple can like pretty much break the laws of physics and release an AR glass that is 300 times better than anything else that's possible right now. But this was like really cool. They're showing off what kind of different display engines they want to use for AR. This is micro OLED. We'll talk about that in a little bit because maybe we'll talk about that now. Well, let me just say, I just posted on Twitter today that Qualcomm had just announced their wireless or tetherless AR smart glasses that connects to a smartphone and wirelessly transmits data. So you can have like a thin form factor, a very short battery life, and it runs on an XR2 Gen 1 chip. And it uses 0.49-inch micro OLED displays per eye for the display engine, and probably like, I think it's like birdbath optics, which is very similar to the market. The one cool thing about that is I reported not too long ago that in the Quest firmware files, I found something called Kona AR glass, and this was something that clearly Facebook was either testing or working on prototyping. And it's very likely that Qualcomm reference design, they're probably going to take that and build it into a product. It's very likely. I mean, it literally has the same partnerships, the same chip, the same SIA tech displays. It's got all of that. So it wouldn't surprise me if Facebook or Meta took that reference design, partnered again with Ray-Bans or whatever, and then made a product that looks fashionable, even though the functionality will be very limited, as with most smart glasses will be. LCOS, that's liquid crystal on silicon. Yeah, that's pretty cheap to buy already. It's very mass produced, but I think people are kind of bouncing away from liquid crystal on silicon and hoping that we can boost the brightness of micro OLED to put those in AR smart glasses. And then micro OLED. God, I get questions all the time about micro LED. Did I say micro OLED? I meant micro LED, which is different than micro OLED. Everyone has a lot of hype for this display, which makes sense. It's literally going to solve all of our display issues forever. Probably not, but like it's impossible to mass produce at consumer volumes at high yields, but it will literally have amazing lifetime, super ridiculously high brightnesses. We're talking about like hundreds of thousands of nits, which is very important for an AR glasses. But when people ask me like, oh, this company bought a micro LED company, or when is micro LED coming? I don't even see micro LED coming for consumer XR stuff for maybe like 5 to 10 years. And even then, it's not going to be cheap. It's not going to be cheap. So a lot of problems with micro LED, but one day. Does micro LED have a thermal advantage? I don't know, honestly. I actually do not know that the answer to that question. I'm assuming it does because they're getting ridiculous brightness levels. I'm sure there's something there. And these are all the different lens systems that are all garbage still and cannot be produced. Then VR, we're all VR lovers. I'm a VR lover. Yeah, it's again, Facebook is just showing obviously what they're looking into using for future VR glasses or VR headsets. I mean, I don't think I need to look at this. I don't think anyone here needs to look at this and be like, what are they going to use for high-end and low-end products, right? Yeah. So micro LED, pancake. Yeah. And okay. So here's a video. Any movement on direct right to retina? No. It's still very hard to do that. From what I understand, the biggest issue with direct writing displays to the retina is the eye box for these systems are really bad, especially when you start moving the eyeball, and they're not particularly safe still. There's still a lot of steps before we get to that, and people are wondering if maybe it would be just better to make contact lenses with displays embedded into them instead, which I don't know how much that's going to cost, and it's still like probably 10 years in the future before we start seeing. Like we hear about Mojo Vision, and David Heaney apparently got to try it, and it like was a real thing. But I still, again, those are still like far off things. Yep. Any updates on Deckard? We'll talk about Deckard soon. Trust me. You know I can't do a stream without talking about Deckard. Come on. We'll talk a little bit about it. This was really cool. Speaking of Deckard, or really just like, I had a huge kick. If you guys been following this channel for a while, I was very obsessed with, I still am, with liquid crystal lenses. Tunable liquid crystal lenses. And this is a video. So this is a video here of, I guess Kent State worked with Meta. This doesn't show the video. Did I not take the video? They literally had a tunable liquid crystal lenses, and they're demoing it to someone here. And I guess I didn't take a video of it. I could not get a demo because that was like, I don't know, very cool. There was also something later on. Nothing interesting here. Oh, actually, this is kind of interesting. I know you can't see it in a video, but this was a super large light field display by BOE. Light field displays are basically, they're basically 3D displays without glasses. And they had a giant one here, and they were showing it off. There was actually a lot of light field displays at this year's event. Big seems to be a big push for that right now in display industry. Maybe. I don't know how much a display like this would cost. I'm sure it cannot be cheap, but it's interesting. I feel like it didn't look that good. Like, it's not something I was excited about. Like, I wouldn't want one in my house yet, but yeah, it was an interesting size. That's all I can say. What's in this video? Oh yeah, BOE had some XR stuff. So this was interesting. This was a dynamic frame rate VR headset. So there was a patent I covered last year for Deckard. And one reason I like that patent is because a lot of my research for displays for Deckard kept leading me to displays that had a variable refresh rate. And what's really interesting about that is we haven't had that for VR yet, because there's a lot of stuff you need to do to make a variable refresh rate display work for VR. I mean, especially when you have stuff like reprojection you have to account for and all these other concepts that are dependent on like a stable refresh rate. Dynamic refresh rate or variable refresh rate has not been seen in a consumer product. But I kept seeing patents related to making those reprojection or software systems work. And I keep seeing prototype displays in their specifications, they say we support a variable refresh rate, like it's a big deal. And then I saw this BOE headset that has a dynamic frame rate. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's something happening with that. I haven't done too much research on the benefits of why you would want a variable refresh rate, but I think it has to do with like possibly like blur per frame or something. But yeah, they had this was an LCD display doing it, and they didn't really have anything going on interesting within the display, but it worked. Yeah, it worked. They were just showing slide images though, which is like why are you showing off a dynamic refresh rate display if all you're going to show are a picture slideshow in the headset? But it had pancake lenses, and that's a very common theme you'll see for every one of these prototypes. Every one of these prototypes will have pancake lenses. Do you know Charbax's YouTube channel? He's been covering SID Displayweek. Yes. Yes, I do know him. In fact, I watched some of his videos when I was getting into this research kicks stuff. A lot of his videos were very helpful because he was interviewing companies that I needed to know about. And the interesting thing about Charbax and like really all those kind of industry events and stuff is it's really cool to see the so like let's say if you're looking up one company in particular that you believe they're going to have a very important display technology for consumer VR, and they attend every SID Display Week and they get an interview every year by some YouTuber. Well, guess what? Future YouTubers that do stuff like I do can just literally watch every video every year to see how they're progressing in the technology, which is really cool. And timelines are pretty important. If you can build a timeline for a technology, you get a good idea of when things might be possibly mass produced, especially for events or industry events like this. So this was a keynote that was held by a professor at University of Central Florida, actually. Interesting thing about this professor is every single one of his graduating students the past few years, they have gone to two companies, like right out of college. Apple and Meta are taking these graduates like by storm. And it's purely because they're focusing heavily on liquid crystal optics. And this was a whole presentation about that. Variable refresh rate to prevent screen tearing even when the frame rate is bouncing around a lot due to high system load. Perfect. So yeah, what was really cool about this was a keynote that was sponsored by a lot of... Here, let me see if I can skip to that actually, and then I'll go back. Yeah, this was sponsored by Meta, Intel, and Microsoft, and also has acknowledgments by Guartech and like Sony, like very important. Clearly, this technology is being invested in a lot. Imagine Optics was working on these kind of lenses, and DigiLens is working on these kind of lenses now. Imagine Optics again was that company that Valve funded back in like 2008 in hopes that they can build a mass production fab for Valve so they can just build as many lenses of these kinds as they wanted. However, Meta acquired that Imagine Optics company. So again, a lot of interest in this liquid crystal lens stuff. So this is very interesting. I made a video like almost a month ago where I was talking about a concept where we found something in the Oculus or the Quest firmware called T-Rex Super Resolution. If you remember that video, I still like that video a lot, even if it might be. I mean, a lot of my videos tend to be like weird and crazy, but this was basically talking about that. Using liquid crystal lenses to do solid state wobulation to effectively double the resolution of displays or at least making it look like that. And it worked for text. I guess I didn't take a picture of that. And that was just one different example. What was really funny is this professor, while he's up there, he literally made the same exact example as I did for that video I made a month ago. He was like, oh, if you have a 3K resolution display and you implemented these lenses that did the wobulation, which effectively doubles the resolution, you could say you have a 60 ppd Retina resolution headset. And that blew my mind because I'm just sitting there in the audience like, hey, I said that a freaking month ago in a video. So that was freaking awesome. He made the same exact example as I did. Do you need a PC? I mean, it's whatever companies want to implement, you know, whatever they want to do software-wise. Another example you can do for these type of lenses is multifocal planes, which is varifocal. He was saying that the Half Dome 3 had 64 focal planes, and they were just showing off 2 here. And you can see, like, you know, it zooms in and out. Basically how these work is they just apply a voltage to these lenses to turn them off and on, which changes the polarization of the light, either to left-handed or right-handed. And if you stack a bunch of those layers in like a wire grid array, you can get a lot of focal planes. Folded pancake lenses. This is saying that they can remove a piece of the pancake lens, throw in one of these liquid crystal lenses, not the active ones, but the very passive ones, to get those folded lenses even thinner. Meta actually shown off a research years ago, or in 2020. It was something like holographic elements, and I can't remember the name of the research, but the interesting thing about that research is basically what they're talking about here. And when I first got confirmation from Ars Technica about Deckard, right? Like confirming if Deckard is a thing from Valve, that it's a project for a VR headset. Ars Technica's sources that confirmed what I was reporting, they linked to that holographic elements in a pancake lens, saying that Valve was going in that similar direction for their headset. So this is probably something we're going to see in the near term. And I was talking to David Heaney a little bit, and we both wouldn't be surprised if the custom pancake lenses that we're seeing in Cambria, we wouldn't be too surprised if it did have one of these elements inside of it. But we'll see. I'm too dumb for this stream, but keep up the good work. Thanks, Nathan. I don't know what to say. Oh, directional backlight, beam shaping. Yes. I was saying earlier that if you have a display with backlights, like mini LED, if you have a mini LED LCD display, you can't just slap in a mini LED like backlight from a regular mini LED display and hope that it's gonna work well and work really good. So they're saying, hey, we can have like micro lenses on the backlight per backlight to direct the light better, so it will reach your eye more uniform. Because normally displays, pixels will just emit light in a cone like this, like a very wide. But if you can like at least steer it to a certain direction on different parts of the display, it will look a lot better, way better. Here's showing off their different. Again, I probably could talk about this forever. I freaking love these optics stuff, but yeah. I literally could talk about this forever. Then they went to talk about the Quest. There was another thing talking about the Quest 2. People always ask me, because we're gonna talk about an OLED display, a micro OLED display in a little bit. And I did an interview of that micro OLED company, and I always talked about how, hey, this company says that every tier 1 they work with, they always ask for a 10% duty cycle, which means, so what VR displays do, have you ever heard of the term low persistence display? Which what they do is they flash the screen or the backlight. So let's say for a whole frame, the screen will only be on for 10% of that frame, a very short period. So your displays in VR headsets are actually constantly flashing super fast, but your eyes don't notice. The reason they do that is if they had it at 100% persistence, you would see a huge blur. Like, it would be nauseating. And people always ask me, well, what are displays running at today? And this gives you an example. The Quest 2 already does a typical 10% duty cycle at least 90 hertz. I'm sure it's very similar for 120 hertz as well. Hey, thank you for the super chat. Hey, if you want to give me money, thank you. I will appreciate that. But yeah, low persistence is very important. But the issue with low persistence is when you are flashing the backlight for only 10% of the frame, that basically lowers the max brightness. Like, you only get 10% of that max brightness. And, you know, let's say you have 1,000 nits display, and if you run at a 10% duty cycle, well, you're only getting 100 nits of that display. But that's before it even goes through an optics system, and optics are incredibly inefficient, especially as we go into pancake optics, which are way more inefficient for light than Fresnel. So very important to have bright displays. This was, okay, here's some really cool pancake lenses that I got to see and try. Hopefully I turn it to the side to show how thin it is. Yes. Yes, pancake lenses. These are by 3M. Wait, what? Oh, did not upload all the videos? Dang it. So 3M had a headset. 3M had a headset at this at the show floor. 3M, the same company that makes all those little adhesive strips you put on walls and stuff, they make a ton of stuff, and they started recently making reference designs for pancake lenses, and they had a they had a headset on the show floor you can put on with these lenses and like LCD displays. And I was very impressed by the clarity of their lenses. I've tried some pancake lenses, and it seemed like most booths at this event were using these 3M pancake lenses for their prototypes, and they were very clear. Like, no ghosting, no weird color distortion at the edges. Pretty good FOV, like at least 90 to 100 for sure. It was just very good quality pancake, and probably the best I've seen so far. And, you know, 3M just make a lot of garbage, you know? Yeah, 3M lenses. Very, very good quality. This was, okay. Here's a big part that's probably gonna be spent a lot of time talking about. So there's a company called Inolux. A ton of, oh wait, money. You know what that means? I forget everything I'm doing and I talk about your money. I know this is a weird question, but you think Metacambria could be used for AR Pokemon Go to walk around outside? So you have to think about one issue. I don't think too many people are going to be going outside with headsets still, even mixed reality headsets, especially during the daytime. I don't know if you've ever brought out a Quest 2 during like peak daytime hours, but the tracking literally doesn't work because those cameras at like ridiculous exposures from the sun completely white out. So they can't find all the markers that that the computer vision usually uses to find things. But I think at nighttime you might start seeing some weirdos like me go out to like cool downtown areas with my headset, and just like you'll see a lot of cool AR mixed reality stuff on Twitter already, and a lot of times they are during the night. That is not by accident. Like they'll usually use the HoloLens 2 or something. So maybe during nighttime you might see stuff like that. But obviously there is going to be like, I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see companies like Niantic want to kind of push live events like that with Pokemon Go, with these headsets because it just seems like you can do a lot of interesting concepts. That might be just like a fever dream for me though, but yeah. Brad to touch nightgrass, yes. The first thing I'll do with yeah, never bring a VR. Dude, I brought a VR headset to the beach once to literally record a stupid clip. I don't have it on me, but I was literally like, I was just laying there with a HTC Vive on my face in the hot sun. When I got home, that thing was full of sand, dude. It was a disaster. And you know, sunlight with lenses don't do well either. So yeah, don't recommend it. Anyway, yeah, I still think that mixed reality devices are still going to suffer from the same issues that current headsets do with sunlight, like heavy sunlight. But I still think people are gonna try. Like again, it's just like I'm thinking about the heaviest sunlight hours, but again, I still don't think people are gonna want to go out. You definitely do not want to walk around like walk around traffic with these headsets. They're not gonna be that clear. I would say the first generation of them probably not. But yeah. Okay. Back to this. Innolux. So Innolux, they made a big showing. I think they partnered with JDI, maybe not. They make LCD displays, and this is me talking because I was gonna make a video instead of making a stream, but I got lazy. So yeah, they had a. Do they not have the videos here? Crap. I have the videos somewhere, but so they had a 2016 PPI display. It was about 3.2K per eye. They were using pancake lenses in their demo. It looked very crisp, very crisp inside the headset for sure. They also had, you can't see here, but I literally couldn't get any footage of this anyway. But if you look there under a laptop, there's a weird looking headset as well. This was a light field display or light field VR headset. So it had two functions, they told me. One function was it looked like a bunch of circles, like a, how do I put this? Like a bulletin board. And the two functions were if you have a eye prescription, you could tell them your level of eye prescription, and in their software, there's nothing to do with lenses. This is purely a display and the software. They could tweak the software to have good vision without glasses wearers. That was one way they could do it. The other way is if you didn't have eye issues, and they didn't show this to me. They didn't have it set up, but they said you could have like actual more like 3D depth per eye with this display. And it sounds great, right? But let me tell you, this Light Field VR LCD did not impress me at all. It was very low resolution, but the biggest issue with it, so people complain that the sweet spot, right? The sweet spot for Fresnel lenses or Fresnel lens headsets are like super tiny. Like you get to have it perfectly in the center. Nowhere near as bad as this headset was. Like even like at the best I could try to get it centered with my view, it still looked like terrible because there's just a bunch of holes on the actual lens. Like it's just a very weird headset, very prototypey, literally no sweet spot. But it was a cool prototype they were showing off. It wasn't very high resolution. The colors look garbage, but they. And also, I don't wear glasses, so I didn't get really the full demo. I'm sure if I wore glasses, people would be like, "Wow, that's pretty cool." The video is on my Twitter, but I don't. Here, hold on a second. Let's see if I can get that. Twitter.com. Sadly, I do have some stuff on my Twitter, so that might help me. Give me a second. However, Twitter compression's freaking garbage as well, so that has its own issues, but it's almost there. Yeah, so this was the again, Twitter compression, freaking garbage, but this was the 3.2K display. And it looked good. Obviously it's LCD. So when I was doing this, you know, I was being my YouTuber self, right? I was talking to my camera, recording footage, like, hey, this is the Innolux display. And the people at the booth were like, are you a YouTuber? And I'm like, yeah, I'm an XR YouTuber. And they're like, please come, please come. And they took me to their back room, and they were showing off their mini LED prototypes that, you know, again, mini LED is basically LCD with super fancy backlights. Again, I'm talking to the camera. And yeah, they showed, let me see if I have, here was their mini LED, showing off the HDR colors of their mini LED prototype in the back. They could theoretically apply a mini LED backlight to their high resolution display if they wanted to, their 3.2K display. And this is embarrassing. Let me rotate this. Can I rotate this? Oh, it's gonna take a minute. Rotating video. Well, frick. Okay, cool. What do I even do in this video? Oh, I'm asking questions. This was not... Okay, hold on. I need to find this video. Dude, some of these videos are not even in my... What a mess. What a freaking mess. I told you this stream was going to be a mess. Any measurements? Oh, you talking about the diagonal for the 3.2? The 3.2K display had a diagonal of about... I want to say it was like 2 inches or between 2 to 2.1 inches for the 3.2K display. Yeah. Okay, let me get the mini LED, because they had a really cool comparison as well. So if I can find that, that would be very cool to show you guys, because it's actually a very good comparison. Okay, here it is. It's also rotated, so I don't know if I can rotate this. Can I rotate this somehow? Oh, frick. It's rotated! Wah. Oh, wait, no, here's one that's not rotated. Okay, here we go. Thank God. Okay. Yes. So here was, they showed 2 of their displays, one without the mini LED backlight, and one with the mini LED. These are upside down, but you still get the idea. The one on the left is the mini LED backlight, and the one on the right is the standard LCD with the edge lit stuff going on. Freaking, I'm a mess, but yeah, you can clearly see the black levels are way better on this mini LED. Let me do this even more. The black levels are even better on the mini LED, but you can still see that haloing effect I was talking about. And I'm sure that doesn't, you know, we'll see with Cambria. So Vario has mini LED in their headsets. Their Vario Aero. And they promised that they would add local dimming to their headset at some point, but they have not done that yet. And apparently it's because it's not as easy as people they thought it would be. So why would you want a mini LED headset or a mini LED display in a headset without local dimming? Well, you can also get like higher brightnesses out of mini LEDs and stuff, which is good if you're switching to Pancake, like Cambria is. So, but I'm sure, yeah, it's mini LED adds problems like anything else. So. It is HDR. Yep, it is HDR. These are HDR displays. Now let's talk about this headset company. So if you go back to one of my first live streams about Deckard, I made a prediction. And I think of all those things I was sure about, that was probably the most sure thing I was at the time. I said that the Valve's next headset would likely have 4K per eye micro OLED displays from a company known as Imagine. Okay, before I get into this, I have to make a disclaimer. I do own shares in my retirement IRA account of this company. That being said, I am not talking about this company because I'm not trying to get people to invest in it, but you know, disclaimers are important. Anyway, so This company, I did a lot of research on over the years, and they have some so they're a small company, but they've been making OLED microdisplays for like 20 years. Yeah, like 20 years, which is a long time. I mean, OLED technology has only been really mass produced for, I mean, how long? And they've been really like, they do mostly do stuff for military, like a lot of sights and like the night vision goggles. They mostly been doing small scale stuff with their own fab. However, during the 2016 hype, there was a time where people were realizing in the VR industry, wow, microdisplays are really good for XR. Like, wow, we should really look into this technology. And this was one of the leading companies. And this is very interesting too. Back early days Valve, when they were doing their early days VR stuff, a lot of their prototypes were, or I should say before they were doing a lot of those prototypes, and I was talking to Jerry about this as well. A lot of their early on stages for VR development, they were using like $100,000 military grade VR headsets. And can you guess what a lot of the display, like who was making the displays back then for those 100K headsets? This company was. And then, it wasn't obvious that Imagine saw a possibility that, hey, consumer XR is a thing. We should start looking into making displays more for the consumer industry. Like this might be a good thing for us. However, there's a lot of issues with micro displays, especially OLED in general. Is OLED are not very bright. OLED is not bright, especially micro displays. The reason why they're not bright is most OLED micro displays that are made on the market today, they do a certain OLED stack called white OLED, and they put color filters on top of the white OLED to create red, green, and blue. Those color filters and this whole stack is super inefficient. You lose a ton of the light. And that's not good, obviously, because especially, again, I was saying that you need low duty cycle, you need bright displays because everyone's wanting to switch to these super thin pancake lenses, which are also inefficient. So this Imagine company was trying to figure out ways that they could position themselves to solve that. And what they created was a process called direct patterning for OLED microdisplays. So so if I have a smartphone right here, this smartphone, this has OLED, right? This has OLED. They already do something called direct emission on these displays, and they're literally red, green, and blue pixels. They don't do the white OLED with red and green and blue on top. However, when you start going to TVs, like especially LG TVs, the large size, they do the white OLED with color filters because it's hard to scale that red, green, blue pixel direct patterning to large displays and tiny displays. But this company managed to do it with micro displays. So they introduced last year a display that was 10,000 nits max brightness, and it actually reached around 11,000 nits. And this is a single stack RGB direct emitted OLED, and this was the 10K prototype they were showing too. Yeah, that's a big deal in the industry. In fact, this display and this 10K nits technology won Best Display Technology Award at SID. So it's a big deal. And I kept researching this company. I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah, you do need high brightness for VR and AR and all these headsets coming out that want to use OLED or go back to OLED. So I was like, this company might have something going on. And then I started learning about this display right here. This is a 4K. It's really it's really 3600 by 4000, but it's a 4K per eye micro OLED display. However, this is something I never really talked about much, and I'm going to explain it now. So micro OLED displays normally get to a maximum size of 1.3 inches diagonal. And the reason for that is because micro OLED displays are literally built on top of silicon. silicon wafers. And the way that silicon wafers are patterned, like all the lithography equipment to make the wafers, they can only the maximum shot per lithography section is only 1.3 inches. This display here is around 2.1 inches. How is that possible? Well, this company, Imagine, was working with a tier 1 partner and with their foundry to design a display that could be stitched, which is only company I know of that's doing this for micro OLED. That is not an easy task for a small company, first of all, to just do. They definitely had a lot of partnerships to figure out how to do this. And that's very important because 1.3 inches and lower for micro OLED, you're not going to get a large FOV out of a display that small, even with pancake optics that can magnify the image and stuff. So all these companies came to this company like, hey, can you do this? Can you make a stitch display with high brightness, micro OLED, and all this stuff? And I kept seeing a lot of connections to Valve patents from 2016 to this display. And not even just from 2016. I kept seeing Valve patents for micro OLED even 2019 and like all this stuff that kept matching up with the specifications of this display right here. It was to the point where there was so many coincidences that I truly believe it wasn't a coincidence. And then we go to this event, which I got to go in the back room and see this display, right? And look what it says on the driver board. What does it say right here, guys? It says Steamboat. Again, it could be a complete coincidence, but when you have a billion of these coincidences all at once that keep leading to Valve, and Valve, I don't know if you know this, but so the lenses in this headset, the Valve Index, the lenses inside of this, if you go to the patents for these lens system, the dual element Fresnel, guess what display that these lenses were clearly designed for in the patent? They only mentioned one display type. Can you guess? Yeah, these lenses were probably originally meant for OLED microdisplays at smaller sizes. They originally probably created the dual element Fresnel lenses to magnify an image, but when the actual VR hype died down and they couldn't get the mass production in time for consumer volumes for micro OLED at the time, they pivoted from micro OLED to LCD at larger LCD displays. So it's likely the only reason that the Index has such a large FOV compared to competitors is because it was originally designed for a smaller display in mind. And again, I was talking to Jerry Ellsworth, she talked about they were using Imagine displays way back when, all this stuff. All right, one more final part to this story because I think it's just a fun conspiracy theory. So, David Heaney of Upload VR. I did a whole interview with the CEO of Imagine, which was a great interview. It was more a technical interview because I wanted people to understand why their technology was probably useful for the market. But David, and I didn't ask any questions like, "Hey, are you partnered with Valve? Are you partnered with Apple?" I didn't want to ask those questions because I wanted to come back for another interview someday. So I felt if I asked those like questions, I wouldn't be invited back. But But David Heaney, he got to see the display as well and got to see the Steamboat. And he literally asked the CEO of Imagine, are you partnered with Valve on this display? And he went in to say on his podcast with Upload VR that they did not say no. They did not say no. Obviously, they couldn't say yes. But one thing that's really interesting about that is the CEO replied to David Heaney saying, "I can't say who it is, but there was also a larger company involved with this display in the later stages." I have a video dated back in December of the past, like December 2021. I believe it's called Valve's Vader with Apple, or Valve Deckard / Vader with Apple. And that whole video goes into ridiculous explanations, pointing a lot of connections to this display with both Valve and Apple. And we know that the Apple, if you watch the Apple rumors, Apple is planning to release a headset or mixed reality headset with 4K per eye micro OLED displays. So it's very likely that Valve was looking for a partner to get this manufacturing possible for their own uses. And Apple, who since early on wanted a 4K per eye display, saw what Valve designed with Imagine and probably licensed the technology so they can build the factories. And I hope that Valve does actually get benefit out of this, because it would be super cool. It would be super cool if we saw an Apple headset and a Valve headset come out around the same time with these kind of displays inside. It would be so cool. And I think Meta's behind. I think Meta's working on a 3K per eye display with this Imagine company, but they are behind because there was a third company that kicked off a design with Imagine, but it was only after they saw the prototype for this display here, which they showed off in 2019. This display prototype is from 2019, guys. 2019. The design was kicked off in 2017, and the first prototype was shown off in 2019. And they have not shown any updated prototypes since, but we know it fits. It literally fits all the requirements for what is needed for high-end VR. 2.1 inches is what we're seeing for a lot of sizes for displays with pancake lenses to get the high FOV. It's just again, I know I sound crazy, like it just sounds crazy, but like when you've done this as much time as I have and you see all these it's just ridiculous, right? It just feels ridiculous conspiracies, but just like there's probably some truth to it. I might not be able to know the exact truth to it, but there's got to be a little bit of truth to it. So oh, well, okay, we don't know the FOV exactly. I saw that question, but let's just say this display was put into a headset like the Quest 2. So the Quest 2 has a 20 ppd, pixels per degree. If they were to keep the same FOV as Quest 2, not saying they will, but they did, this would be around a 40 pixels per degree visual experience, which is literally double. And again, the manufacturing process for this display, this DPD, is a lithographic process that Imagine's designed, and they can get super low subpixel gaps, which is why I was talking about earlier. You want RGB stripe and you want a low subpixel gap so you don't have any screen door effect. This display is literally the dream for VR users, guys. I swear, if this display makes it to any devices in the next year, every VR user is gonna question reality. Maybe, okay, that's probably pushing it too far, but seriously, it'll look in a league of its own. And it supports a variable refresh rate for reasons. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So, yeah. Thank you for listening to my musings about this display and this company, but it was really funny because I was literally talking to David Heaney about this Imagine company and this display and stuff beforehand, and he was pretty skeptical. I would say he was a little skeptical of it, but after he came out of that meeting room and talking to the CEO of this company, he's pretty convinced now. We brought David Heaney to our level, guys. He's on the conspiracy train now, boys. We got it. But yeah. Again, 2019 prototype. That didn't look good. Sorry the shaky camera work, but yeah. Yep. Okay. Let's see. That's pretty much everything we have for SID. Let me see if is there anything else from SID I'm missing? I need to think. Again, there wasn't too much AR VR stuff, but there was enough to make me feel really happy coming home. I really did enjoy this trip. So, why are the colors so funky? I'm guessing it's because these displays were made on a prototype R&D machinery to build. Again, this display came out in 2019. And Imagine and probably the companies they're working with, they are already ordering non-R&D machinery, mostly the deposition stuff. So I'm guessing the colors are related to the fact that they're using R&D equipment, but they are past the R&D stage for their production. Oh, and this display can hit 10,000 nits. Like it would be able to. And Imagine's targeting 20,000 nits with their new machinery by like next year or something, next year, the year after. So they're gonna double the brightness. Oh, one more thing about the 10K nits. LG. So just to give you an idea why this like color direct patterning is such a cool thing. So LG was actually at the event, and they did a whole keynote of where they were trying to reach 10K nits with a white OLED. So I said that Imagine's is a single stack RGB OLED, right? 10K nits, it gets there. LG, for them to reach that level of brightness, they had to do a triple white OLED stack, as well as doing micro cavities, and I think maybe even micro lens arrays as well, just to reach 10,000 nits. 3 stacks of white OLED compared to the 1 RGB stack. So imagine how much it would take them to reach 20,000 nits. And like, you might be like, well, why would you need 20,000 nits or 30,000 nits? Well, if you want OLED displays to get into AR glasses, again, I'm not really bullish on AR glasses still for the most part, but like AR glasses need even higher, way higher brightness levels because they're using waveguides usually, and waveguides are like sometimes not even 5% efficient. So yeah, 6 stacks exactly. So yeah, I do believe that Valve and Apple are probably using this display. I don't know how the far that partnership goes, but even if Valve somehow convinced Apple to build supply chain for this display and they could share it for their headsets, I would be a very happy guy. I think a lot of people would be actually. So I pray. All right. Give me a second to. I think yeah. So that's SID Display Week. Is it possible all the 4K resolution in tech is so? I did ask Imagine about 4K, right? Because 4K per eye, that sounds like a lot of not even just processing power, but bandwidth, right? Like to achieve 4K per eye at 120 hertz, which is what this display runs at 120 hertz. What do you do with bandwidth, right? Especially if you want to do wireless stuff. And he wouldn't say how they're doing it, but he said that their partner they worked with on this display, there's something programmed into the backplane itself, which is what the display is built on, that fixes the bandwidth problem. So not really sure what that is, but they again they covered their bases. They figured out all the issues, which is like again, it just sounds like the perfect consumer display. Like I'm sure everyone here agrees. Like if this display was in a consumer VR headset, we would all go crazy. Okay. Yeah, so I think that's everything from SID Display Week. Let's take questions for everything I've talked about. I do think that's everything that I wanted to talk about. If you have any questions about SID Display Week and my time there, yeah, let me know. A dedicated compression CPU? I don't know. I don't know how it really works. I do know that we're seeing a lot of stuff with like foveated bandwidth, which is they're using eye tracking. It's kind of like foveated rendering, but instead of for like telling the game to render things, it's like actually requesting less bandwidth out of the edges of where you're not looking. So obviously it would be kind of the same concept, but it's more about bandwidth rather than rendering. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's something like that. But again, they wouldn't tell me how they're doing that. What's minimum GPU to run this display? I don't know. I mean, I'm at the point I'm at the point so it literally depends on the software, right? Steam VR, for example, like they're not doing much, honestly. The requirements for PC VR are so high because Valve hasn't really been like implementing standards of what you can do for like cool rendering. Whereas Quest 2, we've already seen the honestly the magic they've been doing to get VR content to run on these ridiculously tiny SoCs that are not high powered, and they're like 2K per eye rendering and stuff. They have like application space where they have, time warp and like all these different reprojection technologies they keep introducing. And then they're going to add, phobia and rendering and all these things. It's like, well, those things would do wonders even for PC VR. So, I'm really guessing that. So there's a process that's been worked on internally at Valve and Steam VR called Prism, and our belief is that Prism is the communication layer for a PC and the headset, which it's very likely that Valve's next headset's going to have an SoC inside of it, at least the bare minimum, and a Snapdragon SoC, just so they can do like the split processing stuff where it's basically how virtual desktop works, but it can probably be done wired or wirelessly. Have you checked out the Retina AR display? I did not. I looked it up, but I haven't seen it in real life or anything. Oh yeah, HDR and VR is happening this year. Cambria is going to be HDR. I think that's one of the benefits of the mini LED displays. PSVR 2 is going to have HDR. This display supports 10-bit HDR already. So HDR and VR is happening already. It's happening. Obviously, games will need to support that though when that starts becoming supported in hardware. What do you think of Apple's possible outward display? Oh yeah, let's talk about that. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. So yeah, there's been a lot of I guess leaks or like historical musings about the Apple VR project and why it took so long to get this close to release, which it's very close, guys. Very, very close, like actually close. I know people have been like, oh, we've been hearing rumors for years, it never happened, but we got like the information, did a whole amazing article on. They interviewed people under NDA for sure because they get the exact timelines of why it took so long, all the issues for the past 7 years. It's been in development hell almost, not development hell, but yeah, very good story. So one thing so there was one concept that people were thinking that Apple was going to do like the Vario thing for their headset. They thought they were going to have one large panel, standard OLED, and then in front of it they're going to have two smaller micro OLED displays and do the Vario thing, which basically the way the Vario headsets work, the high end, is they use like hot mirrors to project a super high resolution tiny display in the middle of your periphery and have a peripheral display basically right in front of you. And it works great for them. I thought it made sense for a little bit. However, the more I thought about that concept, it actually stopped making sense once I learned that Apple was going to do pancake lenses. Once I learned that Apple was going to do a pancake lens design for their headset, I was like, there's no way that they're doing this. There's literally no way. Because the big benefit of pancake is you can literally slap the display right onto the pancake itself. Which if you're doing like a hot mirror or like overlaying of displays on top of each other, you can't do that with pancake. As far as I've seen, I haven't seen any research of ways you can do that, basically. I haven't seen anything like that. So like there's no way that interpretation of the rumor is correct. And yeah, now it came out that third OLED display is likely to go on the outward facing of the headset to show your eyes, and I guess most of your eyes. Similar to what we've seen Meta have done some research for that. Because the idea is a lot of issues with the higher ups in Apple is they believe that VR is too much of a lonely experience, and you're cut off from everyone around you. And they showed off a concept of this, like, hey, we can have cameras that show your eyes and your face on top of the headset, so it's not as bad, as well as also doing mixed reality stuff. And apparently those two prototypes was what made the higher ups okay the project years ago. So that's what they're looking to do, apparently, is have an outward display to show eyes and stuff. I really think it's not a big deal, as these Apple higher ups thought it is, but yeah, it seems like a waste of money to me. I really don't see how that's gonna improve much, because I feel like most people are gonna use their headsets. I don't think it's gonna be like people are gonna be all in a room together wearing headsets or stuff, but I don't know. It's a weird concept to me still. My question is, so are they going to be showing the real life versions of what the cameras are seeing, or on that display are they gonna be having like Animoji face on the outside? I feel like that's what they're gonna do more, honestly. I feel like they're gonna have like an Animoji. So you're gonna have like cartoon eyes, cartoon nose, and then like real face under. I don't know. Something tells me that's what they're gonna do, because that seems a lot easier. Hmm. But it just seems like a waste of battery and stuff to have an extra OLED display just for that, in my opinion. When you're saying using patterning, is it the same technique at coloring a surface? So it's basically like, I mean, it's basically like they're just they're the way that the patterning works is they're evaporating onto a silicon wafer. They're doing like a shadow mask, it's called. So they're evaporating red, green, and blue organic materials with a lithographic process directly onto the anode, basically. It's very complicated. I don't know how I can easily explain that. So I guess the most trivial way to explain it is current micro OLED uses white OLED emitters, and they put the color filters on top. What Imagine's trying to do is, instead of having white LED emitter, directly pattern the color filters onto the display, but that's still kind of weird explanation. I don't know how to put it. Is there any companies doing similar and alternative technology to Imagine's direct patterning? Yes. Well, no. Okay, so there's a company called APS. They're a Korean company, and they're doing RGB, on micro OLED. However, their process is different. Imagine's using a shadow mask lithographic process to deposit the OLED, whereas APS, they're still doing RGB, but they want to use FMM, which is very similar to how current OLED is made. The issue with FMM, excuse me, the issue with FMM up until this point has been it's been impossible to get high PPIs with a fine metal mask, and using that to evaporate. However, they did a laser etched FMM that they think can be transitioned. However, from what I've seen from their papers and stuff, it still seems like they cannot get the same pixel pitch, or not the pixel pitch, sorry, the pixel gap as Imagine does. But it does seem like it might be beneficial for some ways. I don't know. They've kind of hinted that they had some sort of workings with Imagine in previous like conferences, but I don't know how far that goes at all. But yeah, it really does seem to me that for micro OLED, RGB direct emission, whether it's APS method or Imagine method, is the way to go, rather than white with color filter, for sure. Yeah, so Imagine 4K is 10-bit color HDR, 10-bit color def, and that was this prototype. I don't even know what they've done since then. I don't know. Bandwidth is no problem with Apple. The M1 Ultra is more advanced. Yes, but the Apple headset's gonna have I don't know anything about M2. I don't know. Is the M1 bandwidth good? Because I know the Apple headset's planning to use the M2 directly into the headset itself. M2 is the main powerhouse for the Apple headset. Apple headset doesn't have controllers apparently and isn't focused on gaming, so I feel like might not. Yeah, I heard, man, I was reading that. So yeah, so the article that came out today about the Apple headset, which was like a part 2 of the history, they're saying that Apple is not developing any controllers for the headset, like pretty much at all, which that is really Apple. I mean, a lot of people were kind of guessing that would happen, but that is really that's so Apple. I still believe that you need controllers for VR, but they don't. See, that's the problem. Is all the higher ups at Apple, they don't see VR as the interesting thing. They don't see VR as useful. They see AR as useful. So they're more worried about getting AR into consumers' hands more than VR. They think VR is lonely. They think it's just gimmicky. They don't see a use case for it. And Apple, we know Apple's not very good with gaming. And not having controllers is pretty clear that they're not going to be good for gaming if they don't yeah. FMM has a bad fill rate. Yeah, exactly. See? There you go. So yeah, so here's the silver lining. Again, if Apple and Valve are both using the same display, Valve, they're going to be focusing on the gaming side of things. So if you're a gamer, Valve's going to be there eventually. I don't know when, but eventually. They will release controllers in 2 years for $300 each. People were talking about how like, oh, maybe they might be like, hey, you can use your iPhone as a controller, which probably is true. I can see that functionality happening for their headset. But I also do think Valve though, I think Valve's also going to have mixed reality features in their headset, by the way, guys. I don't think they're going to be like, I don't think it's going to sacrifice the device, the VR side of the device, but I do think they show very clear signs that they're going to have mixed reality features in their next headset. Patents companies are working with for computer vision. There is utility to just putting in high resolution color cameras into headsets. I mean, Valve was already doing it, right? We got two color cameras already in the index, They're garbage, but they don't really do much for depth sensing or anything, but Valve likes to pack stuff in and let people do what they want with the headset, and there's a lot of I really do believe they're gonna have mixed reality features. Yeah. Maybe Apple Watch integration. Yeah, I think Apple is best at getting people into their ecosystem, but with all their products. I have an iPhone. I got so frustrated with my iPhone and getting ProRes videos off my iPhone that me and my wife wanted to buy a MacBook Pro just to make my life easier when I go on trips like I did. And that's the Apple trap. I fell for it. I'm an idiot. Honestly, though, the MacBook Pro is really good. Sorry, I hate to say it, but I'm really impressed with this freaking laptop. When you see that Meta is going for a work-related HMD, do you think they'll go for a lower cost, lower spec display? No. In fact, I would argue if you're doing something productivity focused, you would want a higher resolution display more than a gaming headset. Because if you're going to be staring at code or Word documents or text for many hours of the day in a headset, like they clearly think that people are going to do, you need way higher resolution than if you're playing a game, that where you're moving ahead a lot, So, do you think PSVR 2 have color pass-through? No. No. Is this lenses better quality than Vario? What lenses? You mean pancake lenses? So pancake lenses have really good quality. They're very high quality, especially the ones. So you're gonna see a lot of pancake lenses from different manufacturer or every tier 1 company that comes out with pancake lenses. They're gonna all have their own take and own designs to pancake lenses, and they're all gonna be different in their own way. For example, I can already tell you, So Cambria has what's called a 2-stack pancake lenses, and Apple's has a 3-stack pancake lenses. What is that third stack doing? I have no freaking idea, but we know that from supply chain orders. Apple's pancake lenses are $10 per unit more than Meta's, and everyone's gonna be doing their own custom lenses. Because really, a headset, like the two main things you want to invest in for a headset, in my opinion, are displays and lenses. Those are the two things you want customized the most, probably. Because processing between a lot of headsets are going to be the same. They're all going to be using Snapdragon chips. Apple's going to use their own chips. Really, it's just going to be the small visual stuff that's going to be different between them, probably. And obviously the ecosystems behind them. That's actually the true big difference, is the ecosystems are all going to be different between all these devices coming out. The third lens of Apple is to have a bigger FOV. I honestly have no idea what they're doing with that third stack. I try to look into what they might be doing, but no idea. Cambria's main competition is the Vive Focus 3. Yeah, exactly. Oh, the one thing though, I know I keep saying this, but I really do believe in this. The one thing that makes me so excited about Cambria and Apple VR and probably others that come out, like the Pico version of Cambria, is we're finally seeing a resurgence of high-end XR devices for consumers. These are, I mean, like I know they say they're like prosumer, but they're still consumers. They're targeted for consumers, and that makes me really happy. Even if I don't know if I care much about Cambria, I don't know if I care much about Apple's headset from what I'm hearing about it recently, but it will allow companies like Valve and all these companies that want to release high-end headsets, and every time they do release a headset, they won't be like the community won't be like, oh, but I can just buy a $300 Quest 2. There'll be a lot more like, oh, I get it, high end can exist, low end can exist. Like there's gonna be a lot more signs of whether or not this industry is healthy, in my opinion. Because I believe a healthy industry is more so shown by, or I say hardware industry, if you can have low end, mid end, and high end all exist together. If you can only have the $300 subsidized thing as the only choice, that is not a healthy industry, in my opinion. So, yeah. Will we see Risk V and VR AR devices? Yeah, I think so. I think Meta is big on Risk V, actually. In fact, you're already seeing that. Meta did showing off a prototype chip, a 7 nanometer chip that was using Risk V cores for their codec avatars. They're basically wanting to, like, a lot of companies are wanting to do this, actually. They want to combine chips that have very specialized functions and make custom chips to work with like a larger SoC. And Meta's already doing that with RISC-V. They're also part of the RISC-V. I don't know what we call it, the board or whatever. So I do see companies wanting to do that. Oh, was it RISC-V? That was RISC-V. Or Risk. Oh, you're saying it's RISC-V. Gotcha. RISC-V. I'm an idiot. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. I'm an idiot. We know this. God dang it. Consortium, yeah. But yeah, I do think companies want to do RISC-V, some of them. Because it's no licensing fee. That makes people excited. No licensing, wow. Alright. Any more questions? Oh, how much do you think Deckard will cost? It'll be expensive. Do you see it releasing in 2022? I see it releasing maybe 2023. Little W. It will be expensive. I know people are gonna hate me for saying this, but I hope that Deckard's more expensive than Index. Honestly. And the reason why I think they could do that is because there's a lot more high-end stuff coming out from Apple and Meta. So it's not like, sorry, I want my hardware to be expensive and very nice, like super high, just enthusiast. I want enthusiast stuff. I want enthusiast. Yeah. Given a hologram of a lens stack modifies light in the same way as a stack series of lenses, could be hologram. Given a hologram of a lens stack modifies light in the same way as a stacked series of lenses, can this be out? So what I think people are going to be doing a lot with pancake lenses, first of all, for a while, is they're going to be adding holographic elements into the stacks to guide the light even more precisely, until that we figure out the next big thing for VR after pancake. But I think pancake is really cool because it's very variable on what companies can do with it. Because again, it's just adding stuff or changing stuff in that thin stack, and there's gonna be a lot of, like, even the Half Dome 3, the varifocal headset from Meta, that was technically a pancake headset or pancake lens headset stack. So you can, again, it's just like very variable there. Nice that you want enthusiasts, but 99% won't be able to afford that. But there will be companies that will do cheap headsets, guys. Valve is not going to release a cheap headset. I like anyone that thinks that Valve's going to release a Quest 2 $300 competitor. I hate to burst your copium, but there's no signs of that they're looking to do that, in my opinion. I know Steam Deck is like cheap, but even with Steam Deck, they kind of are showing signs that they regret not going for a higher end thing for that device. So yeah, I'm willing. I mean, I spent so much money just to have an index with 4 base stations and full body tracking, and I have a mouth tracker in here, and like all the, like, I think people are willing to pay for the experience. If this industry truly is the next age in spatial computing, like if this is really the next big thing after smartphones and laptops or whatever, I'm not saying they have to replace them, but if it's really the next big thing, then not everything needs to be cheap. If everything is constantly subsidy or die, this industry is not going to survive, I think, in my opinion. I don't think it will. It's great that Quest 2 sold so many units, but how much money did Quest 2 lose Facebook or Meta, like profits wise? A lot. I know a lot of it's R&D, but like they lost a lot of money by doing this, and not many companies can do that. Not many companies can do that. It was not a healthy. It wasn't really a help. Like it allowed developers to continue making money, which is probably the best thing that Quest 2 did, I think. It allowed developers to continue making money. But I don't think we need every headset to be subsidized at $300. So yes. Yep. Even if the Valve Index had upgraded with better panels, Index was, yeah, you notice how this is on my floor right next to me? It's because I still use it. Now, do I want to use this anymore? Honestly, no. But I don't want to use this anymore. I have tried things that are going to replace this when my NDA ends. But for now, it's got everything I want still for a headset. However, face and eye tracking is something that is going to be standard in a lot of headsets coming up, and that's important to me because I'm a very big VR chat user. All right, let's talk about Tilt 5. Sorry. That's enough of SID. I really thank everyone for listening to my musings, but I want to talk about Tilt 5. So, I do have video. I mean, there's not much going on here. So Tilt 5 has an issue, I would say. It's not really like a normal issue, but Tilt 5 has an issue with explaining the technology to people. Not explaining the technology, explaining the experience to people. Cause here, let me skip. So here is me trying out games on Tilt 5. I'm just gonna leave this video playing for a while. So I'm gonna tell you, if you've been watching the stream up until now, you'll know that I basically don't care about AR glasses. I never really believed in them. And the main reason for that is because I never tried AR glasses that impressed me. Most AR excuse me, I'm sorry. Most AR glasses are super low FOV. They've got problems. Every AR glass has problems. This system has its own problems. But this was probably the most impressive AR glasses I've ever tried so far. It really, and this is what I was explaining to people I was talking to the other day. These AR glasses remind me a lot of the feelings I felt when I tried the Vive. And really, it reminds me a lot of the Vive. The Vive, when it came out, was low resolution. It was bulky. You had to have a wire at all times. It was good at the time, but it also had huge requirements. Like you needed a strong PC, you needed lighthouse space stations, which for a lot of people that was difficult. And this system reminds me very similar of the Vive. But the experience was really good. I literally don't know how to show off this device to people without explaining it. But I'm going to explain how this technology works because it's very special and they do a lot of interesting things right. So, in most glasses, they project the display directly onto the lenses. These glasses do not do that. These glasses use liquid crystal and silicon displays, which is why the headset's pretty cheap, really, compared to most consumer glasses. And they send the display out, the display light outward, onto the retroreflective board. And the retroreflective board is bouncing the light back at you, and then there's also cameras and stuff, and that's doing reprojection. These glasses also have its own reprojection chip built in, just to do reprojection, which is a very smart concept. And they reproject the frame rate up to 180 hertz no matter what device you're using. They're working on like iOS, they're working on Android support, and they say that with a desktop PC you can plug in 4 of these glasses at once, and because of the reprojection technology and chips they have in these glasses, they can support that. But the experience was really good because of the way that they're projecting light and it's bouncing back to your eyes. This solves something called divergence accommodation conflict, which was the main point of what varifocal lenses were trying to do. And excuse me. So basically, when you look at your finger up close and then you look at the back of the environment, your eyes can automatically accommodate vergence, basically. VR headsets still don't do that. You literally cannot look, like, you can't point your eyes downward and close to things, and because the focal point is static. It's constantly that one place. But because of the way the system works, and they're bouncing light back at you, their light is actually coming back to your eyes similar to how real life light is, technically. So they actually solve vergence accommodation conflict, which allows you to wear these glasses for a very long time if you want to. Some of the issues I think I had with this device is mostly just like small visual things, which comes from just the fact that you use liquid crystal and silicon. The contrast is low. It's like, it was the best AR experience, but I really wish that we can figure out better displays for these things. But it looked really good. It honestly looked really good. I ordered one. I already had one to order, but like, there's so many cool things you can do with this board that already my mind is like, wow. And I went on their Discord, and there are people like buying rolls of retro reflective material so they can put the board on the floor and then literally line up their wall with this retro reflective stuff, so they can have the entire like view actually have the AR stuff. It's pretty neat what some people are doing. You can run stuff directly in the Unity editor. She just grabbed an open source pinball thing. She's obsessed with pinball, Jerry Ellsworth, and she just slapped that in the Unity editor, clicked play, and there was a 3D pinball machine on the board with the AR and stuff. I couldn't control it because she didn't do bindings or anything, but like, it just seems like this device has value, especially if you're a tinkerer. I would say if you love messing with stuff that's really interesting and you want to like get a good idea of like what a good AR glass could be like in the future. Like this doesn't have its own standalone processing. It doesn't have all the issues that a lot of these have, but it's got a ginormous FOV. Of course, it requires the board. But when you like, she pulled up a canyon on the board, like a canyon experience, and when things are like deep, it literally looks like you can reach your hand deep into the table. Like I would say, I don't know, like canyons and like gorges look really freaking good in this system. There is some like depth and popping out depending on your angle, but the really enticing stuff is like giant holes in the ground and stuff. So um it's again, it's an AR glass. But it's the most it's so hard to impress me with AR glasses, but this impressed me is what I'm trying to say. So I liked it. I liked it a lot. I can't wait to mess with it. I know my wife will love it because these people know what they're doing, honestly. Like they have a good goal. Like they're only focusing on the gaming aspect of it and like the family getting together. The issue, another issue though with this system, I didn't want to say this, but the one issue with this system is Jerry's very big on bringing the family together to play things. The issue though is this system doesn't scale well price-wise with multiple glasses. The board comes so the whole system comes with the glasses. Only need a USB port. Comes with a one wand and then the large board, and it's like $360. The board is the cheapest part of the entire thing. But the glasses and wand, if you want to buy more of those so everyone can be around the table seeing their own things at different views, well, that's when you start, that's when the price will get up. She's very big on wanting to get these in consumer homes, but in my opinion, I really think the best way to show this device off first for people would be to partner with like arcades and stuff and get these into that. And I told her that, and she again, she's very obsessed with getting these into people's homes more than arcades or local location-based stuff. But again, I ordered one, and I will have a lot of fun with it. And yeah, I see people talking about how they want to make lighthouse tracking work with Tilt 5 and stuff, so you can like have knuckles and grab stuff from the board and like, yeah, it's a cool system. I can't I can't say I can't say anything else. No online gaming at this stage. Yeah, they're working on online gaming, and that that will help. If they can, again, if they really, I mean, this system really is cheap. For most, like it really feels cheap when you try it. No. Okay, let me reword that. When you try it, it feels more expensive of an experience than it actually is. So like, shelling out $360 for this, I feel like that price is cheap for what it is. But again, that is because when you start scaling up to more than one person playing at a time, which I really think this board probably does. Like I can only imagine how cool it is to do like 4 people at once on the board and stuff. I can see that being really enticing, but the pricing doesn't scale well with multiple people. Is it just that there aren't any online games? I didn't ask that. She just said they're working on multiplayer, so it sounds like it's something to do with the SDK. I would say, but I'm not sure about that. To buy such a device, you need to try it. Again, it literally reminds me of like when VR first came out in 2016. It was so hard for content creators to explain how what VR felt like to play, um, until mixed reality videos started coming out, and we did stuff like that. Download Live on Steam today. But yeah, but the difference between VR, at least with VR, you had the first person view in VR, right? That you can just upload onto a YouTube video for 2D viewers to watch. This is way more complicated than that, because while you can kind of do that and get the video player and upload it, the games won't look good at all. Even worse than what VR feels like, I would say, because it's really the true interesting concepts of the system is just having something on a table. And that brings me to the next worry I have for this device. Again, I want to stay again. I love this device, but I have worries. My worry is, will mixed reality devices be able to do this? Put games on a table pretty easily. If mixed reality devices can do that, it may be a better experience in some ways. So, and I know Jerry does not believe in mixed reality devices. She's like, "Oh, we tried that at Valve. It wasn't a very good experience." But um, it yeah, I don't know. It just seems like it's a tough situation no matter what, you know. I've been following Jerry since she was at Valve. She was doing really cool things before she went. Jerry's probably my favorite person I've ever met in the VR industry or XR industry. Honestly, I meant to. So I meant to go to her office, maybe stay for an hour or 2 hours, you know, just get footage and go like normal YouTuber stuff is. But as soon as I started talking to her, and we talked pretty deep about like we were kind of complaining about startup culture and like um the difference between fake marketing and like real person to person marketing. Because I was saying, you know, most times I go to startups, I always feel like a huge disconnect with the people that work there or like the CEOs. They always feel like they're trying to scam you. And I'm obviously you guys know I'm not I'm not like a YouTuber mind. I feel like I'm just like very I'm streaming from a MacBook, no audio except my microphone with this is not professional, right? So yeah, we were discussing a lot of different things and like, you know, she has so many stories. I literally stayed the entire day. I decided to stay the entire day because I just enjoyed my time talking to her, seeing the office, all the people that I met while that are working at Tilt 5. They are they felt I felt a connection with them, you know, like they were my people, you know. So I stayed the whole day and I really I want them to succeed. I really do. Does it work better in the dark? I didn't try. I didn't try in the dark. Again, I didn't want to do. I was originally thinking about doing a first impressions video, but really, I did not get any good footage of the gameplay or the. This is all I got. See this footage here? This is all I got. So I'm literally waiting until I get my own board and kit to figure out ways I can report it better, explain it better, and then whenever that happens, which should be by the end of summer, I will make a whole video about it. But I just feel if I did a talking head video with just this footage only, I was not gonna do this team justice enough. And I, you know, I again I really like them a lot. So yeah, I'm Shelly. How bright was it? Oh, it was bright. I didn't have any issues with brightness. Honestly, it didn't feel dark at all. It was just the contrast ratio was like was meh, but it didn't feel dim at all. At all. Very good. And again, I want to reiterate that the AR glasses having the entire lenses have the full FOV. That was super good. That was super good. So, never seen that before in AR glass. Probably won't forever. For a while. Yeah. Through the lens. I tried through the lens actually. I might here. Let me see if I can pull up that here. Here's the through the lens. Oh, it's sideways again. God dang it. Whatever. Through the lens looks even worse, I would say. Look, this is through the lens with my phone. It looks really bad through my phone. Even though you can kind of get the idea of like, you know, you can see the movements of the 60OF movements and stuff, but it didn't look like this, you know. It did not look like that. So I'm trying to say it looked really good. But oh, this demo though, this demo was like the coolest demo. This was a third person game that you would turn the controller over. And like, do you see this tree here? That tree, like there was a ton of trees. It was like you're like going through a forest, like kind of like a Diablo clone. The trees just like really feel like they're popping at you because your character's in the middle, kind of small. This was a very good demo to show off the AR hologram effects. Very cool looking demo. Would through the lens with a VR 180 camera work? I think they have I think they gave like a certain polarizing thing lens with their dev kit or something that I wish I had. But really, they're working with a company called Mixcast to do like a mixed reality thing to show off the content better. Which I think when that happens, maybe we'll get some good footage to explain the system better. I don't know how that's gonna work though, but yeah, hopefully that will be good. Surgeon Simulator on Tilt 5, yeah. Surgeon Simulator would actually be a perfect game because the controller for it would be perfect, like a little scalpel and stuff. That would be a perfect example. Digging people's flesh on a table. That would be perfect. Oh yeah. Is the CG cut off at the edge of the board? Yes. Yes. You can only see things directly on the board. And yeah, but you can move your head and stuff, and like, it actually moves the camera for this game and stuff. Like, it's got a really good seat. Again, the reprojection system they built too is just really good. I was impressed by that too. It's a cool system. Yeah. And they're using USB only, which is interesting. I don't like, they're using USB 3.0 only to power the glasses. You don't need no HDMI port. You don't need like just an HDMI plug-in. If this was mounted by like a monitor, what do you think it would be like? That's what a lot of people have been asking them, and they're working on a vertical mode so people can mess with that. But my issue is it might not look that good. Because I was at one point I stood up and I literally like looked down directly like this down at the board flat, which was supported, and you don't get that hologram effect if you look straight at it. I think. I think I was like, So I think the board really is designed to be looked at it from like an angle. Otherwise, you won't get that depth or cool 3D effects that everyone wants. Yeah. But at least you would have like head tracking doing that, which is interesting concepts. How would a side scroller feel like? That's a good question. How would that feel like? I guess it depends how the camera is, because you could literally have it so like if you angle it like this third person game, a side scroller, you could literally have things like in the foreground and look like that it's popping out in the foreground. Can you solve that by tilting the board? Probably. You probably could solve it. I was doing a test. Like, that's not even a good test because no. Yeah. But this is the closest AR system I've ever seen to being something that I would want to use more than once in my life. because every AR glasses I've tried at events, CES, like anything, I want to take them off like immediately. Like, honestly, they're really bad. They're really, really bad. There's a reason why every company that's looking into AR is doing mixed reality devices, because AR glasses freaking suck. They really suck. At least if you want something immersive. If you want like something like what a smartwatch can do. See, this is another thing is people are like, oh, but if you have a glasses, you can just remove the smartwatch and have everything notifications stuff in your glasses. But even then, doing that, it's gonna be way more expensive than an Apple Watch, because optics are expensive. Display, you need 2 displays. You need process. Like, it's gonna be more expensive than what a smartwatch can just provide. So I'm just not very confident in AR technology right now. Maybe in a few years when I start seeing some better progresses, but I've not seen it yet. Yeah. Again, this board is like, so here's the one. I know I said this in my interview with Jerry, but this thing here. Oh, wait. Whoops. I meant to put this on. So, this thing here on the right, this has been something that Jerry's been trying to productize for almost 10 years. This is a 10-year-old prototype. Could you imagine if Jerry actually got this system out 10 years ago, how good it would be compared to everything out there? Could you imagine? So what I'm wearing right now, again, I can't believe that they gave me this. So before Tilt 5, Jerry Ellsworth and some of the people there at Tilt 5, they made a company called Cast AR. I watched the whole interview, but basically this Cast AR, they died. They even did a Kickstarter and they couldn't even deliver to the Kickstarters. They had to end up giving refunds to all the Kickstarters for Cast AR. But this was like the pre Tilt 5. And I got one. I got one of the prototypes. It's freaking crazy. But yeah, again, Jerry figured out this optical thing at Valve like nearly 10 years ago. No one really cared to productize it at the time, but like I was impressed with this AR system today in 2022. Could you imagine if people tried it back then, something like this back in 10 years ago? Dude, it probably would be way more attractive, like ridiculous, you know? It would be insane. Even if Cast AR delivered on time, people would probably be like, "Whoa!" But the fact that this like even slightly impresses me for any AR better than anything today, is a testament that this it's a smart system. You know, it's a very smart system. Yes, I feel so special. All right. Oh, you were a cast. Oh man, again, I'm so happy I got this. This is just so cool. Oh, another interesting thing is, I forget, was it? I think it was Amy who said this, but you see the orange on this link box here. Apparently she had to hand paint all these orange parts on these boxes for whatever reason. HDMI, audio, power. It required a link box too with all this stuff. And now they miniaturized Tilt 5 to only use USB. That's progress still. All right, I think I'm done. I don't know how long I've been streaming. How long? 2 hours. Hey, dude. I always get that sensation when I hit the 2-hour mark. It's over. I just get it right away. Anyway, too long. Yeah, thanks everyone. Please like this stream. If you want to support me, go to bradsmells.com/Patreon. That really helps a lot, so I can continue going to events like what this whole stream was about, and going to San Jose, which was like expensive actually, which is why I couldn't go again for AOWE. But yeah. Thank you, everyone. It's always really fun to talk about nerd technology and the future of it feels like near future to me for some of these things, but yeah. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Nothing new on Deckard? I mean, I talked about the displays more and like conspiracy, but there's nothing new yet. Yeah. Bye.